What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the two most important players on the New York Giants offense. The two players, we hope, of the future who we're going to build this team around. The dynamic duo for the New York Giants. That, of course, being Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. Two players who the New York Giants have invested very high picks in over the course of the last three drafts. And Saquon Barkley came into the year with very high expectations, and as high as they were, he surpassed them in his rookie season, taking home the Rookie of the Year and leading all players, not just rookies, in yards from scrimmage. And this year, I expect him to take an even bigger jump, as cemented by my previous video. But in his second year, Saquon Barkley definitely took a step back. There's no doubt about it, and a lot of that could be attributed to injuries. And in this video, I'm going to kind of show you, and it was pointed out to me by Brian Latari, one of my best subscribers on Twitter, and I definitely want to give him a quick shout out. But I'm going to show you the stats that Daniel Jones put up with and without Saquon Barkley. And it's really going to show you just how important of a player that Saquon Barkley is to this offense, and why I think if the New York Giants make the playoffs, he will win the MVP. Daniel Jones, of course, was a player that didn't come in with as high as expectations. As a matter of fact, most Giant fans were not very happy on draft night. As a matter of fact, most Giant fans were pissed off on draft night that we passed up Josh Allen for taking Daniel Jones, but that soon changed as we saw how he did in the preseason, and soon the regular season, that we started to believe that he could be the franchise quarterback of the future, and it only got better down the stretch this season. Last year, he had 3 games in which he threw for over 4 touchdowns, 1 in which he threw for over 5, and he did a lot of that with either, without Saquon Barkley or with a banged-up Saquon Barkley. Barkley only played 9 games in which Daniel Jones started last year, and in those 9 games, I would guess Saquon Barkley wasn't 100% for at least 3 or 4 of them. The Jet game specifically I was at, he only ran for 1 yard, and it was visibly evident that he was not himself. Yet, Daniel Jones still went on to have a very strong rookie season, and you could have at least made an argument that he should have won Rookie of the Year back-to-back for the New York Giants last year. After all, he probably put up better numbers than what Kyler Murray did. Murray played more games and threw less touchdowns. Daniel Jones had a very strong rookie season. We know he needs to work on the fumbling, and hopefully, with a beefed-up offensive line, he can do just that. But in this video, I kind of wanted to point to the numbers, and I was shocked when I read these. Now, I try to put everything into context and be realistic, but these numbers are really eye-opening. In the 3 starts that Saquon Barkley did not play last year, that Daniel Jones was the starting quarterback, Daniel Jones threw for 3 touchdowns and 6 interceptions with a QB rating of under 60. In the 9 starts in which Saquon Barkley played that Daniel Jones started, Daniel Jones threw 21 touchdowns and the same amount of interceptions and triple the amount of games with 6, with a QB rating of over 95. But like I said, we're going to put it into context. In the 3 games that Saquon Barkley did not start, the New York Giants played the number 1 defense in football with the New England Patriots in windy conditions at Foxborough on Thursday night. They played the Minnesota Vikings, who had a pretty good defense of their own, but they also played the Washington Redskins. They played the Washington Redskins once with Saquon and once without him. The time they played him with Saquon, I believe Daniel Jones threw for 5 touchdowns late in the season against the Redskins. Now, by no means am I saying that Saquon Barkley is a 5-touchdown difference, but he definitely makes a huge difference, not just for Daniel Jones, but for anybody that is behind center. As big of a threat as he is, the defense has to honor that, and they have to put more men in the box of the threat of Saquon Barkley breaking a big play at any point in time. And when you have a guy like Wayne Gallman starting behind center instead of Saquon Barkley, that changes the flow of the entire offense. And the fact that Saquon Barkley probably was only 100% for maybe 4, maybe 5 of Daniel Jones's starts last year speaks volumes to just how good Daniel Jones played. And it really gives me a lot of encouragement to just how much better Daniel Jones and this offense can be in year 2 for Daniel Jones, and not just this year, but for the future. With Saquon Barkley in there last year, Daniel Jones was a borderline Pro Bowl quarterback. I mean, in 9 starts, 21 touchdowns, that prorates out to be what? 36, 37, 38 touchdowns over a 16-game span. Not to say he would have been able to duplicate that. Of course, a lot of those were bunched up in individual games. Like I said, the Redskins, he had 5. The Jets, he had 4. He had 4 total touchdowns against the Tampa Bay Bucs. So he definitely accumulated those stats in bunches, but it is not debatable. With Saquon Barkley in the lineup last year, Daniel Jones was a different quarterback. And I expect him to be a different quarterback for 16 games this year if Saquon Barkley can remain on the football field. He certainly will provide that punch and that unpredictability in the backfield to open up the passing game for Daniel Jones and make this a much more balanced attack. Cannot wait to see how it all plays out, but I think the New York Giants have a dynamic duo that we hope is here for the next decade or so with Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. Just wanted to show you guys those stats. Thank you to Brian Latari for pointing that out to me. That was pretty eye-opening stuff. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.